Augustus Waters, I said, looking up at him, thinking that you cannot kiss anyone in the Anne Frank house, and then thinking that Anne Frank, after all, kissed someone in the Anne Frank house, and that she would probably like nothing more than for her home to have become a place where the young and irreparably broken sink into love. I must say, Otto Frank said on the video in his accented English, I was very much surprised by the deep thoughts Anne had. And then we were kissing. My hand let go of the oxygen cart and I reached up for his neck, and he pulled me up by my waist onto my tiptoes. As his parted lips met mine, I started to feel breathless in a new and fascinating way. The space around us evaporated, and for a weird moment I really liked my body. This cancer-ruined thing I'd spent years dragging around suddenly seemed worth the struggle, worth the chest tubes and the PICC lines and the ceaseless bodily betrayal of the tumors. It was quite a different Anne I had known as my daughter. She never really showed this kind of inner feeling, Otto Frank continued. The kiss lasted forever as Otto Frank kept talking from behind me. And my conclusion is, he said, since I had been in very good terms with Anne, that most parents don't know really their children. Next week, The Fault in Our Stars movie is going to come out. It actually opens the night of next Thursday for like a sneak showing thing. It's not really a sneak showing thing because they're already talking about it and people are already buying tickets. But yes, my boyfriend and I are going to try to see it on the following Friday, the following day. This book is really important to me, and I'm really hoping that the movie is not disappointing. I'm really hoping that the movie is good and does the book justice. This book is really, it's the last John Green book that I read, because it's his most recent one, but it's the one that introduced me to the Nerdfighter community, the Nerdfighters of the greater DC area that I'm a part of. I'm actually a moderator of. It introduced me to a bunch of my friends because of that. It introduced me to my boyfriend that I currently live with. So, like, this book really matters to me. I went to the Bethesda Tour de Nerdfighting with John and Hank, and they signed the book, which I've talked about before, but it bears repeating. They signed the book for me. And I remember when I went to that, I hadn't read it yet. It was when I got it, and I like finally had the chance to read this book. It's a train. And I saw Hank perform Video Game Books, which is his song about the book. I hadn't read the book yet, but like I remember being like totally, oh my god, this is amazing. That was my feeling. I remember I was like thinking, oh, this book is going to be amazing. I can already tell because that song was just beautiful and heartbreaking and And then I finally read it. When I got home, I started reading it, and when I finished it, like laying on the floor in a puddle of my own tears, I listened to Hank's song again, and I just could not stop crying. But at that Tour de Nerdfighting event, there were a bunch of the Nerdfighters from the Nerdfighters of the greater DC area, and they gave me a card with like the link to find them on Facebook. And that's pretty much when my life changed, because now I'm in an apartment with Luis, my boyfriend, who's also a Nerdfighter. He's also read this book. We're going to go see it together next Friday. And I just feel like, you know, I'm just really hoping that the movie is good because, I mean, obviously, the movie will not reflect upon my feelings about the book. That's important. If the movie is disappointing in any way, it's not the fault of the book. It's not the fault of the book, it's not the fault of John Green. But I feel like it's going to be a very good movie, and I think it's going to be faithful. I hope it's going to be like The Pianist, as far as like following the source material, not as far as like that. As far as like following the actual source material and being like really faithful, instead of not being faithful to the source material, like Alice in Wonderland, for example. It's just off the top of my head. I don't like that movie. So I'm looking forward to that, and I will see you again before that day, because I film on Thursdays. But I just had to talk about that, and I had to share with you my favorite moment from the book, because it's my favorite from the book, and it's in the trailer, and I'm really hoping that they do that scene justice. I'm excited. I think it's going to be good. If you have an opinion, let me know in the comments. I can't wait to hear about your opinion. Not really.